We are back with our next Understanding the Officer video. I am trying to wrap up all of the Generation 1 officers prior to the end of the year, so you're going to see a handful more roll out. We are just about done with the entire Generation 1 officer list, which was my goal for 2024, so that way as we move forward, every single Generation 1 officer that early players or new players in Warpath are going to have access to early in the game. And the focus of today's video is going to be Wings of Glory. Welcome back. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope life is going well for each and every one of you. And like I said in the intro of the video, we are trying to wrap up every Generation 1 officer prior to the end of the year, so be on the lookout for the remaining videos to be released. I know you veteran players don't find a lot of value out of these videos, and I totally understand and totally respect that, but once upon a time when we were all brand new players, I know we would have mostly all appreciated having some kind of understanding, explanation, and guidance on which officers were good, what they did, and should we invest in them or not. We obviously, as veteran players, know those answers to the Generation 1 officers now, but the new players do not. So while this isn't geared for you, this is geared for them, so I'm hoping to provide value and guidance for all of the new players that are coming into Warpath now and as we transition into 2025. Now, if you are a newer player in Warpath and these videos are helping you and you get any value out of these videos, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump in and start talking about Wings of Glory. All right, Wings of Glory is another very early fighter plane officer. I believe he is actually the very first officer that you were going to get for the Air Force in the game. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've done the early stages of the game. It's either Wings of Glory or Golden Pixie are the first and second two officers that you were going to gain access to if memory serves me correct. Wings of Glory is primarily an offensive-based fighter plane officer. So starting from skill 1, his tactical skill increases AA firepower by 20% for 20 seconds each time their troop shoots down an enemy aircraft. Can be stacked up to 5 times. Skill number 2, an offensive skill, increases the damage intensity of this officer's troop by 15%. Skill number 3, another offensive skill, increases the firepower of this officer's fighter plane by 30%. And then skill 4, which is a special skill, increases the harass capability of this officer's fighter plane by 20%. And then his 5th and fully awakened skill that you will gain access to after maxing out all 4 of his main skills is just a reiteration of his first tactical skill. So now let's talk a little bit about the early stages of the game and how Wings of Glory is going to play into that, and then also what role he's going to play in the mid and late stages of the game. So early on, he is a completely free to play officer that you are going to get access to pretty much day 1 of playing Warpath. Now, obviously, you're not going to have much of an Air Force to speak of that early on in the game, but he's at least going to be there and be available for you. Now, the decent thing, again, it's been a long time since I have been in the very beginning, early stages of Warpath, but I believe when you first start out playing in a brand new server on a brand new account, there is an event that is going to give you it's like a login event, if I remember correctly, and you are going to be able to get Wings of Glory statues. If I am wrong, I apologize for misspeaking here, but I believe that is the case, that you are going to have access to getting statues simply by logging in or doing certain early game tasks to get Wings of Glory statues. Now, kind of shifting focuses, but then we will come back to that here momentarily. Is Wings of Glory worth it? And the short and direct answer is no. If you were able to get his statues through like the login event, for example, or from other means, whatever that may be, feel free to invest in him if you so please. But just generally speaking, he is not he's not a very good officer. He's not even what I would consider the best fighter plane officer for the early stages of the game, the Generation 1 officers that is. But he does have while he is not going to be useful or relevant at all in the mid to late parts of the game, he can still serve a little bit of a benefit and provide a little bit of value through the officer skill training system later on for you in the game by way of really just his second skill. This is the only skill that you are going to need to be interested in if you want to invest in him at all. His second skill, which is going to increase the damage intensity of this officer's troop by 15%. Anytime we can increase damage intensity on a unit, that's a big win. So if you do have the ability to gain statues for him through like the login event or whatever, put them all into this damage intensity skill so you can then apply that skill later in the game to another officer that you do actually want to use. And kind of tying back in with what I said about the login event and the statues, again, if you are able to get his statues through the login event, all you simply want to do is invest those into this second skill to increase his damage intensity as high as possible, and then call it good and move on. I wouldn't worry about getting him to level 60. I wouldn't worry about investing hardly anything into him because he's truly just not going to be relevant later in the game to you. Even if you do at some point down the road invest heavily into Air Force and you do run like a unique 3-fighter setup, for example, he's still, at this point, with all of the other officer options available, he is still not going to be one of your choices as a main officer on even a 3-fighter setup. So all in all, pretty much just stay away. As always, you guys know I like to keep these videos short and to the point just to get you guys the most valuable information possible in the shortest amount of time possible. So that is going to wind us down for this video. As always, let me know if you have any questions about Wings of Glory in the comments below. If you have stuck around and made it this far into the video, if you've got access to Discord and are not already in our community Discord server, the link to that is going to be in the description of the video below. Click on that link. It'll take you right into the community Discord server, whether you are a new player, have more questions about officers, want to learn some more, or if you're a veteran player and just want to come hang out, get to know more people in the community, it doesn't matter. Absolutely everybody is welcome. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch the video today, and we'll see you on the next one.